Hello everyone. I want to give you a quick refresher on how to set up your works cited page. So first off, you want to head out to the files index, and if you go to MLA documentation, click on that bookmark and grab the stylemla.org. When you click on that, you're going to end up here at the MLA Style Center, and what we're going to look at here is this purple box. So click on the purple box there, and I think this is just a really useful kind of page to bookmark, because with the works cited for MLA 8, all we have to remember is the order of the information and the punctuation that goes after each item. So if you follow this little template here, you will have a kind of perfect citation. So you're just going to put the author's name. Remember, it's the last name, comma, first name, and then a period. The title of the source, and remember that the title of the actual article is always going to have quote marks around it. If it's a book, it'll be italicized. The title of the container, this word container gets a little confusing for somebody. It's just wherever that article lived. So if you have like a newspaper article, the title of the container will be the newspaper. Or if you have a magazine article, the title of the container will be the magazine. Or if you have an academic journal, you have your article in your academic journal and then the title of the journal. If there are contributors or versions or numbers or publishers, you're going to include those in this order. If there aren't any of these things, so maybe there's no contributor or version or number, we just ignore it. So then we just move on to publisher. There's always going to be someone who's responsible for publishing that, so make sure you put the publisher. And then notice we're going to have comma, our publication date, comma, and then location. Location is either going to be a page number if it's a hard copy or a print paper copy of something, or it's going to be the URL if it's an electronic source. Okay, so down here in the corner here, there's this little Get Started button, and you can click on that to kind of see a couple of different instances of how this actually works in real life. So here, this is an essay in a book collection, and so this infographic kind of walks you through where you're going to find each piece of information. So you can take a look at that, and then what your final citation would look like. The next example here is if you find something that's a video on a website, and again, I think this is a really nice infographic that kind of helps you identify where you're going to find the different pieces of information that you need. And then we have our final citation. Note that this link does not live on its own line when you write your, when you actually create your works cited page. The only reason why it's getting its own line here is because this website is created using frames so that it has this blank space here in the corner. Imagine if you could stretch this box out, that would just live on that last line there. Okay, and then our next example is something from a database, which a lot of you will be using this model. And so you notice here we have two containers now. So we have the author and then the title of the source. And then in this case, it's a journal. African American Review is the name of the actual journal. And it did have a number and a volume number. And then it's got our publication date. And then the location would be the page numbers in the journal. So that would be the first container. That's when this article was just published here in the African American Review. But now once the database picked this article up, now the database is a second container. So the second container usually only has two pieces of information, which is the title of the database itself and then the location. So you'll just have EBSCOhost, comma, and then your location of the URL. And here's again what our final works cited entry would look like. And again, imagine if we could stretch that box out, and this link wouldn't kind of live on its own page or on its own line like that. Okay, another quick tip here is if you are in the databases, when you are actually locating your articles, if you're using EBSCOhost, on the right panel here, there's always this list of tools available to you, and one of those tools is the Cite button. So go ahead, and I always tell people, check that out. Go ahead and click on the Cite, and here this is organized by the different disciplines or the different style guides that are out there, so kind of depending on what the discipline is. So if you are in a psychology class, you would use the APA. So we're going to use MLA, so we're just going to scroll down for MLA, and here we can just go ahead and copy and paste that link, and you just want to make sure that it kind of conforms with MLA 8, and you'll notice here it ends with that URL, and that's always a good indication that it's using MLA 8. MLA 7 had used something called web and print here at the end, and MLA 8 no longer uses that. So if you see a link here at the end, you know you probably have the MLA 8. So you can just go ahead and copy that and paste it into your Works Cited, and then make sure you just check that all the formatting came through. Remember, this is a big thing, so title of the actual in this case, the newspaper that this thing lived in is going to be italicized, and our database is also a big thing where lots of little things live inside it, and so that's also going to be italicized. Okay, so I think that covers it all. Well, one quick thing I also wanted to mention to you guys for how you're actually going to organize your Works Cited. I want to just briefly take a look at how your paper is actually going to look for the citations. So remember, your Works Cited is going to live on its own page. So you have a brand new page for it, so you'll do a new page. It's always titled Works Cited. Notice it's not bolded or it's not underlined. It's just the title Works Cited with it capitalized. Notice that your last name and your page number is still up there in the header. And then note that this is now hanging indent. So the first line is flush with the left margin, and anything else that would roll onto the next line gets indented, that half-inch indent there. Because what we want to stand out when we look at this page is the author's last name, because remember, the author's last name is what's keyed back into the actual in-text citation. That's always by author's last name or the title of the source. So and the last thing is note that this is always in alphabetical order. So that's the way you organize your citations on the Works Cited page. It's not by the sequence in which they appeared in the actual essay, but rather it's always by alphabetical order of the author's last name. Okay, guys, I hope that covers everything. Let me know if you have questions.